will be a very small percentage, 3, 4, 5, perhaps even around less than 10%, the way I see it. I mentioned this in my presentation yesterday, that world over the principle is if you are less than 10%, you are portfolio. If you are more than 10%, perhaps you are in a grey area. If you are more than 24, definitely in trouble, because it's more akin to a JV. So I think the pendulum, as I said, will have to be swinging based on portfolio versus not portfolio versus strategy, and not based on listed and unlisted. So you have to first decide whether it's a portfolio investment or a strategy. That means, are you getting a director seat? Are you participating in the business? Are you going to lend some technology? Are you a strategic partner? If you are yes, then you have no choice. You don't have a right to classify. The classification will come based on the underlying transaction. And I think all of these questions, accordingly, in my view, the entire flavor changes. So now, I will then go to the straight fourth question, whether an individual can invest in an overseas LLP under this scheme. Now,
one more question, Sunny, is if I am a minority shareholder after the scheme, after 14th August,
and you are under the ODI scheme.
and I am the ODI scheme,
Yeah.
and then the majority shareholder sets up the subsidiary.
Yeah. Have you invested before 14th August or after?
No, after 14th
So
August.
then you have to make sure the JV agreement complies with the India FEMA regulation. You can't agree to that.
And the
Because it's up to you, no? You will have to specifically say, this is, you want me as a partner, these are my reasons. That's it. Simple.
the earlier question, what was the background? That you have invested in the unlisted stock prior to 14th August, based on that controversy master circular, that the investment is listed or otherwise, and then they have removed otherwise. And now there is no grandfathering clause under notification to see or the new circular. So, do you have any experience that whether such a event prior to 14th August 2013 will require compounding on suo motu basis or just keep quiet?
Parishbhai, the safety is in numbers. So I don't think the RBI has come out with any specific direction or guidance for compounding on the past cases. But in my view, if your past cases are like a JV or a WAS, you may want to realign them to the extent of the current regulation, which will make the regulator more happy. If you continue to do some serious, swinging over there, then you may be in trouble. So my guidance will be, while there is no need immediately to do anything on our own, because as I said, the safety is in numbers. A lot of people have dived into it, and on a fairly legal side, the investors are not to be blamed because the guidelines itself are not very clear. But I would put this with a word of caution that you can't take that rubber band to the next level, stretching it. You have to make sure that that stays the way it is, and there is no further advantage of that scheme beyond that point. Okay, then the question number 4 is whether an individual can invest in an overseas LLP under this scheme. I think that we've already discussed. Said under LRS it is only securities and shares. Even under ODI, it says equity shares or compulsorily convertible preference shares. So LLP as such would be ruled out because they will not have security. I think the question 5 is not required.
Right.
Yeah, that's it.
Friend, this will be the last question. 2.3 will be taken by Anu, and then we'll close the session. And before closing the session, the important announcement: the Committee on International Taxation of Chamber have decided to commence a new study circle on FEMA. So anybody who is interested in that study circle can look for the next insertion in the newsletter, that the scheme and the price and the methodology to conduct that study circle will be announced. So look for that announcement. Thank you. And last question.
Just to add, this newsletter is received only by the members. So those who are non-members, please become members.
Can an NRI or PIU take abroad jewelry ornaments lying in India? Yes, it should be allowed. But you may also like to check the customs baggage rules. That when he's taking it abroad, is it part of his bona fide baggage? And would it entail any export duty upon export of jewelry? For that, it may be worthwhile to get a customs declaration, export certification done, so that you avoid paying any export duty on it. Would it be covered under the $1 million scheme? No, that only applies to balances lying in the NRO account. It's not an overall cap in cash or kind. And wealth tax would be payable till the assets are in India, but once they are taken abroad, Section 6, which is similar to Section 5 of the Income Tax Act, provides an exemption for assets lying abroad of NRIs.
Thank you, friends, for supporting the call of the brain trustees. And you will all agree that you all become very wise after the brain session because they have clarified almost not all the issues, but your subsequent questions, interactive questions, have been also resolved by them. And with that, we will close the proceeding in a minute. Friends, we had a 16 live session, and I hope the purpose of you enrolling this course will be solved. And with that closing comments, may I request Rajesh to Varsha to propose a very well deserved vote of thanks for the great justice.
Respected seniors, on of the dais and my dear friends. At the end of my very first vote of thanks, I had said that the very fundamental objective of this seminar is